Okay, let's get started. Welcome to the 2026 election hustings for Senator, coming tonight from St Ouen Parish Hall. I'm Gwyn Garfield-Bennett, and I'd like to first make you aware that this event is being live streamed. It'll be on vote.je YouTube channel, and you will also be able to access closed captions if you're watching from home. A recording will be uploaded later tonight, this morning, to go on the vote.je website and also on YouTube. I'm going to keep this intro really brief because I want to get on as much as possible out of this event for you, the people who are here. Thank you to see so many of you this evening. But please, can I ask you to ensure that your phones are put on silent because we don't want interruptions. Now, as I'm sure you're aware, you are only able to vote for 9 of the 17 candidates you're seeing before you, who have put themselves forward for the island-wide role of Senator. The candidates have today agreed they will speak in alphabetical order for their speeches, and I'm just going to introduce you to the candidates first of all. Starting from this end, we have Martin Eliga, Tom Billet, Mark Boliat, Alan Brecken, Carl Bush, Guy Dufay, Lyndon Farnham, Ian Galston, Serena Kirsten Guthrie, Mary LaHegere, Alan LePavo, Steve Luce, Alan McLean, Sam Mezek, who is Reform Jersey, all other candidates are independents, Helen Miles, Elaine Miller and Bernard Place. So, without further ado, we're going to start with a short speech from all of the candidates, which will be followed afterward by questions from yourselves and the audience. These are all strictly timed for fairness. Candidates will have a maximum of 3 minutes for their speech. So I'm not going to waste any more time. I want to kick off straight away, please, with Martin Eliga.
Thank you. Hello, good evening. Good evening, everybody. Thanks for coming, and I'm not going to waste time introducing myself. This is my third hustings, and I would like to start by saying that in the first husting, I made an introduction of myself and mentioned a bit about my family and how I ended up in Jersey now 15 years. In the last husting, I actually opened the subject of poverty in Jersey. And I would like to throw more light on this, given the fact that you have seen more information coming about that in the JEP. Now, Jersey seems to be a place that is known to be wealthy. But since coming to Jersey, I found that actually there are quite a number of people who are actually poor. Poverty is rife in Jersey. But the problem is, having experienced poverty myself, when you come from a poor background, it is not easy to be confident in your community. It's not easy for you to express that you aspire for anything in life. For me, putting myself forward is to give confidence to such kind of a background where I have fought for everything, not just for myself, but for my siblings, given that I come from a large family of 8 children. But I can tell Jersey going down with the rate of childbirth, I don't regret that I come from a big family, because the future of any community is a fertility rate that sustains that community to go forward. I would like to say that I would like to restore confidence and redeem the rapidly dropping rate of childbirth in Jersey. My wife and I have done our part, but it is important that the island values the fact that children are needed here. However, the kids and children that are born here need to be given a cost of living that they can afford so that they can thrive in the community. What are we seeing right now? Everybody that seems to be at that age, the working age that needs to sustain the social security of this area, is trying to find for other places to move to. Who is going to take care of the elderly? I am told that a few years ago, we had a social security ratio of 2 people to 1. Right now, the elderly, you need at least 3 to 4 people to take care of one person, which is not possible. Immigration is important, but how are we going to manage that? How are we going to manage immigration without an experienced person of my kind who has faced the challenges here as an immigrant to bring in the discussions that helps those immigrants to feel welcomed, that they don't feel they are pushed away. So if an immigrant finds it very difficult to live in Jersey, thank you very much.
Thank you. Could I ask people to move away from the doorway slightly, because there's some people who can't get in. There's some space sort of along the walls down the front here if people want to squeeze into the hallway. Next up, Tom Binney.
Good evening, everybody. It's always difficult following Martin because he's a lot more inspiring than I am. We heard from previous Hustings meetings that a 3-minute speech is too long, so I've done you all a favour and cut mine down to just over a minute. I've been in office for the past 4 years, most recently as Health Minister. In that time, we've made a lot of positive changes, too numerous to describe in the time allowed. There's a lot more to do in health, especially in relation to hospital management, but the groundwork's been done, and we've also made a lot of progress on health funding. I've been in business since I left school. The experience has served me well in the last term, and I'm pretty sure it will help again in the future. Over the past 4 years, I've learned a lot about the wider island-wide issues that we face, and it's clear that we need to take serious action, and we need to take it very quickly. I could go on and list all the problems that we have, then tell you that we're going to sort them out, but I suspect you're going to hear a lot of that from everybody else this evening. I've worked hard since I've been elected. I've not shied away from making tough decisions when I considered them to be in the public interest, and I think I've managed to get quite a lot done. In my view, the last government has certainly been a step in the right direction, but I think we need to step up again, increase the pace, and be a lot bolder than we've been in the past. And I'd like to be part of that change process. Thank you.
Mark Boliat.
Good evening. I was born and educated in Jersey. My career has taken me from a cafe in St. Ballards to a barman at the Smugglers Inn at Ouen, and then some chief executive and chair positions in business, in charities, in public bodies and government in Jersey and in Britain. That doesn't mean that I know all the answers, far from it. But that experience means that I know how to ask the right questions, how to tackle big issues working with others, how to reach the right decisions, and as importantly, how to implement them. So what's my vision for the island? I want Jersey to be what it's always been, a fantastic, very special community, but one that's been welcoming to new ideas and outward looking. So what about my policies? The government's been spending more than it's earning. Many people's personal finances are under pressure. We know that. We can solve it only by growing the economy. And to grow the economy, we need to remove the barriers to growth. The planning system is one of those barriers. I don't think it served the island well. I think it stopped businesses from expanding, and it stopped many people from making the improvements to their homes that they want to. And I think we can reform it without jeopardizing our fantastic environment. More generally, we regulate too much. As the Chief Minister has said, we regulate like a big country, and we're not. We're a small country. Our regulation needs to be proportionate. And now a special interest of mine, social mobility. People's life chances are largely determined by the age of 5. Only 64% of children starting primary school are at the expected stage of development. We've done some good work in Jersey on early years, but we need to do better to make sure our young people have the best start in life, and we can ease the pressures on hard-working families with childcare costs and housing costs. Jersey is a very special place. I want to keep it that way. I want to be elected so I can work collaboratively with all members of the Assembly, with people in business and with charities to give you, the people of Jersey, the government you deserve. Thank you.
Alan Brecon.
Good evening. Can I ask you to look through your papers and find this? I'm going to refer to it in a minute. I was here 2 weeks ago and I called on over 300 homes in the parish. And I'm not using the post office for deliveries. and I'm not putting up any posters or banners. Since then, I've walked 140 miles in St. Peter, Greville, St. Martin, St. Helier, St. Clement, St. Saviour, and others. I'm doing a lot of the campaign work myself, and I've got a few friends helping me. Nobody is being paid, and I'm paying as little as possible. I haven't produced case catalogue. That's really what it is. I've still got lots to do, and I hope the weather stays fine. Referring to this document, I would ask you to look at the green number, and it's 218 million in 2022, and it went up in 2023 to 257 million. That's an increase of over 38 million pound. That is enough to have given every man, woman and child in Jersey £1,000 a day for the whole year. That is absolutely ridiculous, and that's only the increase. It's not all of it. So on the back of that, I've listed who is responsible. We've got ministerial government and assistant ministers, so it must have been them. It couldn't have been anybody else, and to me, that is not acceptable. Take that home and have a good look. Those figures are absolutely amazing. And while you've got that, the converse side of that, I've been speaking to people in the parish, and they've told me they're waiting a long time for medical appointments. Sometimes they have to pay for them. Sometimes appointments are being cancelled. And we are the people that are paid in 30 or 40 years or more. We shouldn't have to pay again. We shouldn't be at the back of the queue. We should be at the front of the queue. And I believe the states can save money, but also spend it on the right things, and that is some of us. Thank you.
Carl Bush.
Evening, St. Wands. I'm Carl Bush, and I'm standing for the dancing senator in this election. I'm a self-professed mover and shaker. If you want a definition of a mover and shaker, let's hope that I don't lose it from this phone, an influential, energetic person who initiates significant changes, makes key decisions, and gets things done within a specific field, such as business, politics, or art. I did say self-professed. Now, Jersey is full of talent, expertise, passion. What I want to know is why the Jersey community does not attain the adequate amount of physical activity that is required of individuals within a week. It leads to ill health, and it affects your later life. If we do the acquired levels of activity per week, then you will be postponing your long-term care applications. Long-term care, 1,600 applications a year. We're facing an aging population. I'm 60, by the time I'm 85, twice as many people age 85 with me then. There will be twice as many of us age 85. The pressure on the system is going to be absolutely huge. I have run a community interest activity program here for the last 4 years, and this June we will be connecting with 200 adults per week, providing 1 hour activity. Now, if you vote me in, with the structure of government, we can get that up to 2,000 people a week engaged in the required level of activity. That will save over 3 million off the health budget. And I've said again, or I will say again, it will postpone your long-term care application as well. So what I want to do when I get in is I want to promote social entrepreneurs. I want to promote the ambition that we've got within our community. I'm up against stiff opposition from my fellow candidates, some already with experience with government. But I too come with experience. I held elected office in local government in the UK and hold the post of Cabinet Member for Environmental Services, a position that would be equivalent to a ministerial post here in Jersey. At that time, I was also a trustee for Unite
you, Carl.
Carers,
I'm
a
afraid your
charity
time's up.
supporting carers.
Thank you. Guy Defay.
This microphone's a bit dodgy. Can you hear me without it? No, all right. Hello, St. Ouen. Knowing I was coming here, I brought my passport, but there don't seem to be any checks out this evening, so yippee. I used to be very regular in St. Ouen's at a place called the Lobster Pot, which specialised in excellent food and where you got Black Forest gatters, and we didn't really know what they were. But I haven't been coming out so much recently because I'm sure, as many of you know, you're just a little bit too close to Guernsey. Now, cost of living. We're all worried about that, and people are going, what are you going to do about it? I'm basically an ideas person. I'm really concerned that we don't have enough lateral thinking or creative thinking in our government. So I just make a few suggestions. I believe that we're all in it together on this island. Unfortunately, we've got unbelievably wealthy people and people who are really doing not well at all at the lower end of the wage earning spectrum. I would suggest straightforwardly we raise the exemption levels on income tax. Income tax is fierce. It goes, how much did you earn? They dive into your wallet and take it away straight away. Now, this may shock you, but GST, I think, has merit. Why? Because you decide how much GST you pay as a tax, mainly because you decide whether you're going to buy a top-of-the-range vehicle or a modest get-about. You decide if you're buying champagne at the supermarket or just go for a few bottles of beer. It's a tax you can decide how much you pay and has huge advantages, the main one being you can skim money from the very well off without them particularly realizing it's happening. That's a massive advantage. Another aspect I want to field, and by the way, I can't make these as promises, they're going to be suggestions, because what I do is creative thinking. I don't see why we can't help our hospitality industry by just suspending alcohol tax for a year, 2 years, whatever, because all our leisure industry businesses, pubs, bars, restaurants, are double taxed. They pay alcohol duty when the stuff comes in, and then they pay GST. Let's not forget, with all the prices going up, GST revenues gone up too. Was that it? No, you've got 30 seconds more. Thank you so much.
20 now.
Quick word, sorry, I got 30 seconds. Quick word on PFAS. I alerted the island that this is in your drinking water. There's been a very strange response. You're now being told it's perfectly safe. It's perfectly legal. This is the point. They're adjusting the limits to make it legal as opposed to legal. Yes, it's coming with international guidelines, but they're changing.
Thank you. Lyndon Farnham.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Lyndon Farnham, and I have the honour of being one of your current deputies. I've also lived in the parish for 27 years, so I'm a relative newcomer. But I was born here in Jersey. I have lived here all my life. I have raised my family here. I'm standing for election because I care deeply about the kind of island we're shaping for the future generations. But this election is about more than politics. It's about the direction Jersey takes at a time of significant change. Around the world, we are seeing economic instability, rising costs, conflict, and pressure on living standards, and we are feeling those pressures here too. Since becoming Chief Minister in 2024, my focus has been clear: to restore stability across government, strengthen discipline in our public financial management, and to get government working together again and getting things done. That has also meant recognising where we have fallen behind and putting ourselves firmly back on track. And we've made some progress, but of course, there is always more to do. We are investing in Jersey again, protecting capital budgets and taking a planned, responsible approach to renewing our infrastructure. And this means upgrading and renewing our schools and healthcare facilities, improving our roads, extending mains, water and drains, strengthening our coastal defences, and investing in community spaces, sports and leisure facilities, parks, gardens, and the wider public realm. My vision for the future is clear. It is for a Jersey where young islanders can once again realistically aspire to own a home and raise their families here and choose to stay because they feel confident about the future. A Jersey where the older community feels secure, supported, and able to live independently with affordable care when available when it is needed. A Jersey where businesses can grow and compete without being weighed down by unnecessary costs and bureaucracy. I'm optimistic about Jersey's future, and I think we all need to be a little bit more positive from time to time. Because we are a resilient island with enormous strength, a strong community of talented, hard-working people, a successful local economy. We are a clean and safe place and a truly beautiful island to live in. But in these challenging times, I believe Jersey needs leadership that is steady, experienced and forward-looking, honest about the challenges, and will get things done. And I believe, ladies and gentlemen, that our best years still lie ahead if we are prepared to work hard and build the future together. I look forward to your questions. Thank you very much.
Does anybody who's in the doorway want to come into the room? Because I know there's some people stuck outside. You can move forward. There's some space here on the right-hand side along the wall, if it's any help. Okay, Ian Gorst.
Good evening. I'm Ian Gorst, an independent candidate, and it's wonderful to be kicking off the week at home in St. Ouen. Tonight, of course, gives me the opportunity to say thank you for allowing me the privilege of representing you in the States for the last 4 years. I've been honoured to represent Jersey overseas, but please be assured that no matter where that job has taken me, there is no place like St. Ouen, because there is no place like home. I'm standing so that I can continue to be a strong voice for Jersey over the next 4 years, defending our interests, promoting our economy, and building a sustainable future for our community. These, of course, are challenging times. They call for experienced, calm, and serious leadership. As Minister for External Relations with responsibility for financial services, I've built strong relationships with governments in the UK, Europe, and further afield, supporting our financial services, agriculture, dairy, digital, and creative industries to grow and find new markets. I want to drive forward our competitiveness strategy so that we deliver economic growth, embrace innovation, and improve our productivity in the face of increased global competition. A strong and diversified economy supports a broad range of local jobs and pays for good public services. In recent years, government has grown at an unsustainable rate. Throughout that time, I have been and I will continue to be a voice for restraint to control public spending. Government needs to be an enabler, interfering less frequently in our lives and focusing on improving frontline services, including health, education, and policing. At a time of global instability, we of course face challenges. And to ease cost of living pressures, I would freeze duty, raise tax thresholds, and increase allowances as I did when I was Treasury Minister. Importantly, we should continue to promote consumer choice, including by finally delivering a new budget supermarket. As a father of 2 daughters, I am aware of the challenges facing our young people, the pressures of social media, affordable housing, and concern about how new technology will impact on graduate jobs. We must take the action that is necessary to ensure that our young people are supported to lead full and successful lives. Jersey has always adapted to changing times. With strong, effective, and proven leadership, we will do so again. I ask for one of your votes on June the 7th. Thank you.
Serena Kirsten Guthrie.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Serena, and for those of you who don't know me, I'm best known as the ex-England netball captain and Commonwealth Games gold medalist. I loved my career. I loved my sport. It took me all over the world, working with literally the best in the business. But I knew at one point there was only one place that I wanted to come home to, and that was Jersey. And so I was struck, really, when I came home to find how expensive it was for young people to live here. And I've had friends and family frequently leaving the island. And so I've been super curious over the last couple of years, is there a role that I can play here in public service? And this is because there's one thing that I've learned from a life in elite sport, is that when a team is losing, it is not the failure of one individual, but it's that inability of a team to work cohesively together to achieve results. This is the type of skill set that I will bring to public service. At the moment, we aren't helping enough people through a cost of living crisis. We haven't got a grip on government spending, and our island isn't earning enough money. As government, we're under pressure, and it's the task of the next government to be able to do more and try to spend less and stay within our means. I do have some personal passions that I'd like to fight for, if in public service. I believe deeply in the good that sport can do for our children, and I want to put PE teachers back in our primary schools. 1 in 5 children getting the needs, so in terms of their physical literacy needs at the moment, is not good enough. That's an inner city stat, and it's not one that we should be proud of. I believe deeply and care deeply about preventative health and investing in that so we can nip things in the bud, save money, but more importantly, save lives too. Jersey does not lack good people or good ideas. It lacks direction, alignment, and a team willing to take responsibility to deliver results. I think, and I know, I agree with Lyndon here, our best days are ahead of us, but we need to work together to get through cost of living. We need to work together to get a grip on government spending, and we need to work together to grow our economy again. Thank you.
Mary Lahegera.
Good evening, I'm Mary Lahegera. Born and raised in Jersey to a farming family, I spent 8 years at La Pointe Farm just down the road from here, so I was therefore educated at Lelon School. And most of you probably will have known me and my siblings because we were the noisy, very noisy ones that were usually out in the fields round by the castle at Gronay. My career path has been in various financial roles. 25 years in policing, followed with a cross-section of roles and ranks, and I was promoted as the first female inspector in Jersey. I joined the States Assembly in 2018, working for St Helier North. My first role was that of the Scrutiny Panel Chair for Health and Social Security. We did a number of reviews, however, our most successful one was that of mental health services, and we successfully got funding for a crisis bed at Orchard House. The last 2 years I've been serving as the Justice and Home Affairs Minister. I believe that team working is one of my strengths. In my policing career, working in partnership with the public and other agencies, we led teams of various sizes to deliver results in matters ranging from community initiatives to public events, serious road traffic collisions and suspicious deaths. I have employed this collaborative approach in my political roles, both in scrutiny and as a minister, working with teams to provide public services and advancing legislative reforms. Cost of living is clearly an issue for a lot of us, and we need to address those in the short term. However, I think we need to be looking at the long term, not short-term fixes. We need to be resilient. Brexit, the pandemic, and global uncertainty clearly require a holistic approach. Whilst the finance industry provides a huge amount of our revenues and needs to be supported, we need to be more self-sufficient, appreciating that we can't fully provide all of our needs. I do believe that we need to take a look at what we could achieve. I know some people may not agree with me, but I do believe that we should be producing more and exporting less. I really think that we shouldn't be bringing all the plastic in with it, and look at the transport costs. Support and encourage on-island upskilling, programmes and continual development using further and higher education is necessary so we can promote on-island talent. This may encourage islanders to return from study overseas. Let's not say no to someone we think needs development. Let's say yes and bring them back here, use them on our island and develop further. Thank you.
Alan Lapavo.
Good evening, my name is Alan Lapavo and I'm standing because Jersey needs practical, community-focused leadership at a time when many islanders are under pressure. Through my work with Camp Bode, young people, families and community organisations, I've seen both the strength of our island and the strain many are under. Too many people are struggling with the cost of living, too many families feel locked out of housing, and too many young people are questioning whether their future is here at all. That's not sustainable and needs urgent, practical action. I'm not a career politician and I'm not driven by ideology. I believe in listening, working collaboratively, and focusing on what works. I also believe that Jersey works best when three parts move together. A strong economy driven by commerce, an effective, focused government that produces policies and legislation that improves the lives of our people, and a supported charity and community sector, properly funded, where it delivers essential services. You won't always agree with every decision I make, but you will know it's thoughtful, balanced, and rooted in what's best for our community, now and into the future. If elected, I'll work hard, stay accessible, and focus on outcomes, not headlines. Thank you.
Steve Luce.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We know when government or the states ask the public what they think of this island, what's most important to them, there's one word that always comes out top of the list. That's the environment, our countryside, our beaches. And I want to continue to turn that opinion into action in the States Assembly. Keeping our countryside viable is all important to this island. It's important because it attracts tourists and business people here. Those people keep our transport links viable by using those seats on planes and boats. They keep our restaurants and hotels going. Those restaurants keep the butchers and the bakers in business. It's actually the countryside that it's the heart of this island. It's valuable to all of us. It's the backbone of Jersey. I'm running for senator because I believe ministers should be senators, and I want to continue to be minister for the environment, protecting our land and our sea the best way I can, keeping our farming and fishing businesses viable and profitable. One of the things I'm most proud of is securing over £6 million of annual funding for farming and fishing in the States Assembly 3 years ago. And now we're starting to see the effects of that money, where young farmers can actually see a future in the business, particularly the dairy business. And we need to remember our Jersey cow is one of our best ambassadors for us around the globe. The Environment Minister will also have to bring in a new island plan in the next States Assembly. That's going to be a vitally important document that will see us out to nearly 2040. It's important to get it right. We're going to need more retirement homes and nursing homes for the ageing population. We're going to need to rezone more land for light industry so we can diversify the economy and provide jobs, training and education. And we're going to need more homes. And to make them affordable, the states, the government are going to have to take a larger share of shared equity so young families can look forward to a future staying in Jersey. Less exciting news, we're going to have to spend more money on drains, on roads, and we will have to do something about the effects of social media on our children. Finally, I'd just like to say AI is something we cannot ignore. We've got to get with it, otherwise it will leave us behind. We need it for productivity. And the last thing I'd like to say is I would like to press farmers and fishermen in the coming years to provide more food, locally grown for local population, to help keep prices of food down. Thank you.
Alan McLean.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for turning out this evening. St. Wands has come out in great numbers, which is wonderful. I'd like to give you a brief background to my earlier public service. I served as Economic Development Minister during the period Jersey was impacted by the global financial crisis, and then later as Treasury Minister until 2018. After retiring from politics in 2018, I focused on my family, my business, and serving on a number of boards, including Genuine Jersey, which I'm sure many of you will be familiar with. I never planned to stand again, but like many of you, I have become deeply concerned about Jersey's future. We are at a crossroads. People are working harder than ever, yet too many feel they are falling behind. And while families tighten their belts, government has become larger, more bureaucratic, and more expensive. Last year's 118 million operational deficit should be a wake-up call. We cannot continue spending money that we can't afford. There is no magic money tree, only taxpayers' money. My plan is simple. We need financial discipline. We need to cut waste, control spending, and live within our means. We need to grow and diversify our economy, removing unnecessary regulation, red tape, and other government-made barriers to business. We need businesses to have the confidence and trust in government to invest, create jobs, and grow. Because we can't forget that a strong economy pays for public services and helps offset cost of living pressures that we are all feeling at the moment. We need a government that minimizes cost of living pressures rather than adds to them. We need to modernize the public sector by adopting technology and smarter working practices to deliver better, more efficient, more cost-effective public services. Not simply making government bigger. It's already big. Our island needs decisive leadership, those with a proven track record, with courage and experience to deliver a long-term vision. Let's build a Jersey that is more affordable, more competitive, where older islanders feel secure and younger islanders feel they can build a future here. Contact me, please, if you want to know how in more detail, or go to alanmclean.je. Thank you for coming this evening, and I hope you will consider me for one of your votes. Thank you very much.
Sam Mezek.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Sam Mezek. I was born and raised in Jersey before studying law in London, and for the last 12 years I've had the privilege of serving as a States member, both as a deputy and a senator. I've served in various roles, most recently as the chief scrutineer, and for the last 2 years as the Minister for Housing. Earlier today I was talking to somebody I know who is a former manual worker who's now enjoying a very well-earned retirement. And he was telling me about what it was like to work in Jersey in decades gone by. And he described a place that was buzzing, that felt like it was on the up, where you knew that if you worked hard, you'd be able to afford a home, provide a comfortable life for your family, and enjoy yourselves. There were good public services, lots to do, and our public finances were strong. But today he's really worried about his grandchildren's prospects, because for a long time, Jersey hasn't really felt like that. We've had a stagnating economy, real terms earnings have been frozen, and public finances, let's face it, have become unsustainable. And this is leading many of our young people to question whether Jersey is the place that they can look forward to a happy future with the opportunities that they deserve. And that contrast I describe as being a bit like the tide. The tide goes up and it goes out. In years gone by, it felt like the tide was rising in Jersey, but recently it has felt like it has been receding. And I'm running for election because I believe the next government must turn the tide and make this a place that people can have confidence will be a place of hope and opportunity again. And I believe that it's possible to achieve this so long as we have a government that is united, inclusive, and is prepared to make tough decisions, but with purpose. I think that its priorities will need to be addressing the cost of living, preparing Jersey for the challenges of the future, and restoring accountability to government. In the last term of office, we had 2 governments, the second of which did things a bit differently to that which we had before. It was led in a very inclusive way, and I was very proud to have played my part for those 2 years as the Minister for Housing. And that government leaves office after just 2 years, having introduced 15 hours of free childcare for 2 to 3-year-olds, lifting a huge financial burden off of those families. We've expanded health benefits to 1,300 more pensioners, and we've pioneered a new first-time buyer scheme. And last year, we saved £45 million by cutting back on consultants, temporary contracts, and recruiting to unnecessary roles. I think the next government, if it wants to turn the tide, will need to build on all of that and get our economy back on track too. And I believe I've shown myself over these 12 years to be an effective politician, a decisive minister, and a capable leader of a team that is united. And for those reasons, I hope you'll vote for me on the 7th of June.
Thank you.
Because we can turn the tide together.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Helen Miles.
Buon sete. Good evening, St. Wands. I'm Helen Miles, and I'm an independent candidate. And as a fellow Westie, I know that there's no better way to spend an early summer's evening than here in St. Wands. My background is in criminal justice and law enforcement. I have a PhD in criminology, and I've enjoyed a 30-year career working for Customs and Immigration, Probation and Aftercare, and the States of Jersey Police. I was also a founding member of Autism Jersey, serving most recently as its vice chair, and I continue to be a fundraiser for that charity. I'm currently Deputy of St. Brelard. I've previously served as Minister for Justice and Home Affairs, and I'm now Chair of the Corporate Services Scrutiny Panel. And this has given me a very balanced experience of serving both in government and on scrutiny. As Home Affairs Minister, I established the Violence Against Women and Girls Task Force and also delivered the Building a Safer Community framework to support early intervention and reduce crime. I introduced a 3-year work permit to help the recruitment of hospitality staff and negotiated a scheme to increase the numbers of French day trippers to boost our tourism sector. On scrutiny, I led a review, working alongside your connétable, which made recommendations to strengthen our vital parish system. I cherish Jersey's identity, history, language, and traditions. We should be proud of who we are and keep our traditions alive, including where necessary by continuing to adapt and evolve. I'm standing for Senator so that I can use my experience, working together with colleagues, to help address our many challenges. We need to support lower income families with the cost of living and keep on-island inflation, including government set charges, as low as possible. And that includes reviewing the flat rate card for freight imports. We must control state spending, rediscover prudence, and live within our means. And we need to grow and diversify our economy, improve our competitiveness, and ensure our young islanders have hope of an affordable future in Jersey. I want to keep Jersey special for our future generations, and key to that's protecting and enhancing our beautiful coastline and environment. We must prevent overbearing developments or further attempts to privatise our coastline. We need fewer portlets and more Plemmel. Across the island, we see people who dedicate themselves to protecting our environment and preserving our history, and they should have our backing. We live in a wonderful island, and with positive change, we can be very optimistic about our future. Please consider me for one of your votes on June the 7th. Merci bien de fait.
Elaine Miller.
Good evening, everyone. My name's Elaine Miller. I was first elected as a deputy in 2022. Since then, I've been Treasury Minister, Assistant Minister for External Relations, and Minister for Social Security. Before being elected, I had a successful career in law and financial services. I was a Jersey advocate and was the first woman to hold the office of Viscount. I try to find effective solutions to problems and to make sensible and thoughtful decisions. I can get things done, and I've worked hard to deliver positive outcomes for the island. For example, I brought the proposition that reinstated the role of senator. I reduced the cost of GP visits by £20 and increased pensioner benefits. I've addressed cost of living issues by increasing other benefits and by short-term reductions in social security. And I've supported the important work to ensure that our financial services industry remains competitive. We know that we have challenges to address, in particular the cost of living. Parents are often still paying huge fees for childcare, which puts a mortgage for a family home out of reach. I'd like to find better ways of providing and funding childcare for families. It's vital that financial services continues to thrive, but we must enable all businesses to succeed so that our economy grows. Those businesses are often very small, but they underpin our quality of life. I'll be aiming to reduce red tape and complex regulation which cause cost and stress for business owners. I'd look to promote business growth by reducing social security contributions for startups and by trying to harness investment and mentorship from the private sector. It's important that we continue to control government spending by returning to a multi-year budget and removing inefficiency. This will help us put more money into reserves to provide resilience against future shocks. And government should accelerate efforts to digitise and make the best use of AI. But in addressing today's challenges, we should avoid creating even more for our children's generation. I'd like a clear population strategy that addresses the needs of young and old into the future. We need to plan carefully for our school estate and future careers. We have to make sure we have a working age population that can sustain our economy and our public services. It's important that we find solutions that work for Jersey now. I will continue working hard to deliver effective and fair outcomes that benefit our community and our economy. I believe in Jersey, and I will always put the interests of Jersey first. I do hope you will vote for me as one of your senators. Thank you.
Bernard Place.
Good evening. Like many islanders, I'm concerned about the cost of living, pressure on housing, and whether public services are giving islanders the value they deserve. My name is Bernard Place, and after 40 years in public service, including many years as a registered nurse, I'm standing as an independent candidate for senator because I believe Jersey needs practical reform, not more promises. I've worked from the front line in intensive care to executive board level, and I've seen both the strengths of our public services and where they need reform. Housing, healthcare, ageing, and the economy are now deeply interconnected challenges. If we want to improve living standards, we cannot keep simply asking our islanders to pay more tax. Before spending a single penny, we should first ask if services can be organised more effectively and whether more resources can reach the front line. Healthcare is especially important. It's our biggest public service, our largest employer, and one of the biggest pressures on public finances. But it's also one of the biggest opportunities for sensible reform. I know the difference between spending that supports doctors, nurses, and frontline care and spending that grows bureaucracy without improving services for patients. We should be redesigning healthcare around patients and frontline care and making sure the new hospital delivers long-term value for islanders. This election is also an opportunity to widen the experience and perspectives in the States Assembly. Now, I respect those that already serve, but I believe there's value in bringing in people with practical experience of leading services and managing change. Many of you will have read my articles in the Jersey Evening Post, and the feedback I received helped shape my decision to stand. The most common type of feedback I received was people describing what I do as sensible. Now, I'll take that. Sensible is good. Sensible is the way forward. Because after 40 years in public service, I've learned that the loudest answer is not always the best one. The best solutions are usually practical, measured, and sensible. And that's the approach I hope to bring to the States Assembly as one of your 9 senators. Thank you.
Okay, it's your turn. It's time to open up for questions. Emelita has kindly volunteered to hand around the microphone. I will take questions 2 at a time. Please hold the microphone close to your mouth so that we can hear your question clearly, and then give it straight back to Emelita. We won't be doing 2 questions at once. Questions must be brief, please, and to the point. All the political speeches are from this table, not from yourselves. Questions obviously mustn't be offensive in any way, and they must be able to be answered by all 17 of the candidates, so cannot be aimed at just one candidate. We are prioritising parishioners, and therefore I will ask you to state your name and the area you live in. There will be no questions from other candidates or existing States members. It's public only. So I'll take 2 questions at a time. Candidates are going to have 90 seconds to answer. I'll be strict on timing. I'm also going to switch up the order as well, so I'll be starting with Serena here on my right. So, first questions, please. Yep, lady in the blue here, down the front.
Good evening. I would like to ask the candidates their opinions on the report Time to Win. Should they be successful, do they intend to implement the recommendations? What benefits do they bring to the ordinary citizen? And was the cost of the report justified?
Okay, second question, please. You've all been very shy this evening. Come on, you must have questions. Oh, in the front here, sorry. Yes, sir. Under my nose, I can't see you.
Thank you. A very, very simple question. Folk in this room may know that about a month ago I launched a petition, and that petition is fairly straightforward, fairly simple. And it asks the state to consider and review the ministerial system. And this is not the moment to talk about it, but all I need is a simple yes or no answer from the candidates if they would support such a proposition if it was presented to the states.
Thank you very much. So, 2 questions are, Time to Win report. Do you think the costs and the benefits were worth it? Would you implement it? And then going to the petition, would you consider reviewing again the ministerial system? First to Serena on my right.
Thanks for both questions. In short, yes, I do support it. I think it's been a long time coming. I'm a huge supporter of the finance industry. It is the current bedrock of Jersey, and I think we need to find ways to make sure that it still has a competitive edge. So I do applaud Ian and his peers for putting together a really comprehensive report. There are 3 particular pillars that I like within that report around the growth, the reducing regulation, and the digitalisation. And I think these are 3 things that we need to do in the finance industry, but I also think, why can we not do that in other industries? I think digitalisation, whilst it's a big investment, long term will keep costs lower and make our lives easier as the taxpayer. So in short, yes, I do support it. I'm not sure how much it costs, but one thing we do have to get better at as government is listening to the experts and implementing more of their recommendations. Reviewing the ministerial system, I would love to do this as a young person trying to come into public service. I've got lots of new ideas of ways of working. That's actually within my skill set. I go into corporates and talk about conditions for culture and performance all the time. So I'd love to do a review and make sure that we're actually doing the right job for you, which is putting the purpose of the people of Jersey first and your issues. I'm not completely convinced that always happens in the States Assembly. Thank you.
Ian.
Thank you for the question. When I started out doing that programme, I was absolutely committed to the fact that we could not let the finance industry wither on the vine, like I'm afraid we sort of have done a little bit with tourism, and now we're having to catch up, and we can't do that with financial services as well. It did cost a lot of money, it was over £1 million, but we remind ourselves that directly 40% of all tax revenue comes from financial services. Indirectly, it's even greater. I'm absolutely committed to doing it. I don't want any publicity or limelight. I want, if you would like to vote for me, to quietly get on with it, because it's fundamental for all the other work that we need to do in government. It will provide funding for public services. Strangely enough, it's tied in with the next question that Jean asked, because if we look at the ministerial system, I would say the ministerial system is division by design. We're dividing the assembly, and if we're going to meet the challenges that we have to face over the next 4 years, globalization, the instability, the changing use of technology right across our community, we have to work together as a team, as others have absolutely said. So I'm in favour of doing a review, but I actually don't think we need to wait for the review. I think we can get on and include all members in serving the community in a better way than we have in the past. Thank you.
Lyndon.
Thank you, Ian. These are going to be quick answers because I think we're all probably aligned. Yes, I support the time to win work that's been done. It's a long overdue and practical, I think, reset of our financial services sector. It bears down on regulation while still keeping us strong and forward-looking. It will bring us significant economic benefit and protect our tax revenues, as well as creating jobs and opportunities for islanders long into the future. Jean, yes, it's been 20 years now, I think, since ministerial government came into play. I've been here long enough to have served in the committee system and in both, and I would support a review. Thank you.
Upfront confession, I'm afraid I'm not familiar with the report you're referring to, but I'm very happy to read it if elected and make a decision at that time. Having said that, the entire global economy is changing at enormous speed, and things are very, very different as we watch the United States get into terrible trouble. The petrodollar going down. I understand Saudi Arabia recently did a deal in yuan, and China, as I happen to mention their currency, has got more gold as far as we know than anyone else. Gold is the new way forward, apparently. Now, I asked a Freedom of Information request, how much gold do we have in Jersey's reserves? I mean physical gold, not bits of paper. None at all. So that's something I think we need to be aware of. Ministerial government I voted against, so it came as quite a shock to then be elected as minister. There are numerous problems with ministerial government, not least the Troy rule, the disenfranchisement from control of everyone in scrutiny. That really went down extremely badly. The late Mike Wybert, I can't remember whether he was a St. Juan rep or not, but he suggested get the President's committees to meet up on a regular basis as opposed to ministerial government. At the time, that was a very good idea.
Thank you. Time's up.
Yes, likewise, I must admit I'm not aware of the Time to Win report. However, I can say that I have got a substantial background in financial services. I've continuously kept my skills up to date, completing the equivalent of 2 financial services degrees in the last 5 years. So I know about investment principles, and basically one of the first investment strategies that you should consider is diversification. And I do know that 70% of the island's growth is yet to come from the finance industry. And if we look at the principles of diversification, shouldn't we be concerned that a lot of our eggs are in the same basket. So I think that we need to diversify. I'm a tremendous advocate for social enterprise. I brought that with me to the island. I think that can flourish here. I'm talking about community interest, but also I'm talking about globalization, empowering individuals here to do well overseas in financial technology. When it comes to review...
Thank you. I'm afraid you're out of time.
Okay.
Mark.
Thank you. I'd just like to endorse everything that Ian Gore said about the Time to Win report. A few important points from me. One of the points made, particularly by the report by Howard Davis and his colleagues, which I think has got much wider application than financial services. We used to think it's a privilege for people to be allowed to operate in Jersey. That's no longer the case. Businesses have got choices. Jersey has to remain competitiveness. And on tax, although about 40% of our tax revenue is directly from financial services, the chief executive has estimated the total effect at nearer 65%. So we need to ensure that the industry remains competitive. On the structure of the government, Jersey is incredibly good at reviews and very bad at implementing the results of them. I think we need to get on with the point that's been made. We are not big enough to have one lot of people trying to do policy and another lot trying to scrutinize them. I think every member of the Assembly who wants to be involved in the government of the island should have the ability to do so, and we need to get on and do that very quickly, because our system is not working at present. Many members of the Assembly feel disenfranchised. That needs to change. Thank you.
Yeah, regarding the financial services industry, obviously it can't become complacent because there's worldwide competition. So I welcome the report, and hopefully things will move on from that. In here, I've actually said about a thorough review of ministerial government, and I should declare an interest. Many years ago, I did stand for Chief Minister, and I got 17 votes at that time. That's a few years. That was 2008, I think. And the question is, are we really any better off with ministerial government? Part of the problem is there's people who we don't know very well, who we've never voted for, can have very powerful positions that can affect our day-to-day lives, and I don't think that's the way we should be doing business. Thank you.
I'll answer the second question first. I'm very clear. I do think we need to redesign government, and I agree with Ian's comments, because I want to save my time to speak about the finance industry review. I have to say I was pretty shocked when I read it. It's not been an area of particular focus for me because I've been busy in health, and I have to say I think that the report was far too kind to us. It's clear that we've been very complacent. I think we have run behind where we should be. The rest of the world has moved forward far quicker than we have, and I think that that this review needs to be the central point of what we do going forward. If I'm honest, I think the island at this point in time lacks vision, and I think what we need to do is have that vision, and everybody needs to gather in around it. And it's central to that vision is a rebooting of the finance industry, and after that I think we should be spending some of the reserves that we've underinvested in our infrastructure, in our town centre, and with our connectivity to Europe. So I'm very, very clear that there should be a main vision, and that that report should sit at the centre of it, and that's what we should be working for in the next 4 years. Thank you.
As a professional in therapeutic counseling, I'm trained to be congruent, and it is not necessary for me to respond on a document I have not read. The Time to Win report is something I haven't read, so I'll be authentic to say I'll pass that. However, as far as review of the ministerial system is concerned, I think sometimes we can blame the systems. We might change as many systems as we like, but the kind of people that run those systems are actually the ones to be questioned. The team that do those jobs, the teams that run the programs, I would like to say your time to invest in us, the candidates here, is your time to see the outcomes. Because if you are giving people votes, if you give anybody anything, what do you expect out of them? I'm asking you to invest your votes in us. Invest your vote in me because you expect a return. And if you do not get a return that is commensurate to your investment, then you put the blame on me. And the next time I am not coming back to campaign. But I know there are some people you have invested, you have given them votes, so they have just done whatever they wanted to do with the votes in the past government. Who is to blame? I throw that back to you because we can review as many documents and review as many systems, but the people that we put in office is important for us to check. Thank you.
Mary Lehegre.
Yes, absolutely. I think the thing is that, like a number have already said, we've slipped behind and we need to move forward. We need to be moving forward with digital, AI, and other areas. The finance industry, whether we like it or not, is our main provider. So we need to invest in that, and we need to continue, because what that will do is be able to, if we've got a good, sustainable finance industry, that will bring with it people coming into the island, that will bring in connectivity, that will bring in investment for our retail, agriculture, and other industries. So I think we need to be cognizant of that. In relation to the considerate of ministerial government, I wouldn't disagree with the fact that you need to be utilising all of those resources that you've got in the States Assembly. But what I do feel is that we need to ensure, whichever system we have, is that we don't spend too much time wasted arguing amongst ourselves. Because I think, if I remember rightly, when we had the other system, what happened was too many talked around and decisions were too slow. I don't mind changing, but I want decisions now, not tomorrow.
Absolutely. Without the finance industry, we might as well leave and switch the light out tomorrow. So we need to support the finance industry and keep it going. Alongside that, we need to look at diversifying the economy, leveraging new digital technologies, and expanding work opportunities for young people so we can have a more diverse economy. As for ministerial government works in silos. They keep trying to break it down. It still works in silos, and I think that's where we need to concentrate on, is that collaborative thing, looking at how the different systems work together, mesh together, and support each other. Thank you.
10 years ago, I was lucky to be in government, and we had McKinsey that wrote us quite a large report in those days, probably cost £1 million as well. And it did serve us well for some time. But Brexit and COVID have changed things in Jersey. And we're no longer quite as competitive as we were, and we need to address that. So yes, this report is good value for money, and it did cost a lot, but it will serve us well. Something that hasn't been mentioned is sustainable finance. You may have seen in the last week or two, we've had the Sustainable Finance Awards here in Jersey again. It's a really big, growing part of finance around the world. We've got to look at the way we have green finances, sustainable energy needs to be involved, reducing carbon, anything that involves sustainable growing, sustainable production. That's where money is going these days, and we need to make sure that our finance industry in Jersey is ready for that. As regards Jean and ministerial government and the committee system, I always looked upon the role. I've been twice chairman of scrutiny panel. I work with my minister. We want to be working together to make things better. Equally, when I've been minister, I like to work with my scrutiny chair and the scrutiny panel and say, look, be a critical friend to me. Tell me where I can do better, and I'd like to. That's the way I like to work. So I welcome the review and see how we can make things better.
Yes, I very much welcome the review. It was hugely expensive, but it's about return on investment. It talks about the importance of government, industry, and the regulator working together. That's really key. It hasn't been happening, and unfortunately, we've been quietly losing business, important business, and jobs. We can't continue to do that. You asked the question about the importance to the ordinary citizen. It's about the revenue that's generated from financial services, which has about 14,000 jobs and is about 65% of total revenue that comes in. Therefore, it's vitally important that we keep it. And I have no doubt that it was the right thing to do. Steve mentioned a moment ago the McKinsey report. That was done in 2009 at the financial crisis. And I can tell you, at that point, we were advised that the 13,500 jobs could, if action wasn't taken, go down to 6,500, and it would have been catastrophic for Jersey. Diversification of product and services and the work that went in made sure that didn't happen. So this was an important piece of work. Jean asked the question about ministerial government and the petition and a review. I am supportive in the principle of a review, yes, assuming that the terms of reference are correct and the terms of reference are positive. It's fair to say that the original committee system had its strengths, but it wasn't working. That's why there was a change. However, we do need to look forward.
Thank you. I came out and publicly supported the Time to Win document within a day of it coming out. I thought it was important to do that, and we must make no bones about this, that if you're somebody whose politics has social justice at the forefront of it, you cannot have social justice without economic prosperity, and you must accept that no jurisdiction has a God-given right to be a prosperous and affluent society. If we're complacent, things can change. So I very much welcome that report, and whether it turns out to be worth the money or not will be down to whether the next government rolls its sleeves up and implements it, and I, for one, really think that must be treated as a priority. Jean, merci Van de Fey. However, I'm a bit reticent to simply give you a yes to this because I do think the State of Jersey spends an extraordinary amount of time talking about itself rather than talking about the day-to-day issues that affect people's lives. And in my lifetime, we've had two big reviews of our government system. We had the Clothier report, which was cherry-picked. We had the Electoral Commission, which held a referendum that the states then went on and ignored. So I think that we really put a target on ourselves if we set ourselves up to do a big review, only to then ignore the answers because it didn't give us the answers we wanted from the start. So if we're to have that kind of review, I think it's important that it's a kind of quiet thing rather than a top priority. Cost of living is the top priority.
Thank you, and thank you for the question. One of the disadvantages of being right at the end is that you haven't really got a lot else to say. So I would echo, I have read the Time to Win report. I think all the recommendations should be implemented. Yes, £1 million is a lot of money, but if we see a return on investment, then it will be worth it. Not sure about the title. I think I might have preferred Time to Thrive. I was particularly impressed with Sir Howard Davis, his honesty and his clarity, and I think it is incumbent on the next government to really take into account what he said and take it seriously. In regard to the second question, Jean and I have spoken at length about this. I think it's fair to say that there's significant public dissatisfaction with ministerial government. It wasn't implemented as Clothier intended. It definitely was cherry-picked. And we now have a situation where not every member of the Assembly is able to actually take an active part. And what you tend to get then is instead of politicians working together in the public interest, they tend to squabble and set themselves against each other. So not only would I be prepared to support the proposition, I would actually be prepared to bring it. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, I absolutely support the report. Yes, I would implement the recommendations. I think in the context of our biggest industry, which supports the island, £1 million is a relatively small sum of money. It is worth every penny. In terms of citizen benefits, financial services pays for our health budget, it pays for our education budget, and pays for a lot more on top of that. And we certainly would not be building the hospital if we didn't have financial services. Jersey would be a poorer place in many, many levels without financial services. In terms of the ministerial system, I haven't worked under the committee system. I don't know that much about it. People will tell you that it was like wading through treacle. I think and it took time to get decisions. I think the notion of unfettered ministerial power is overplayed. I don't feel I've got unfettered power as Treasury Minister. But I do think we should work more closely as an Assembly. Sometimes, well, quite often, scrutiny feels like an opposing force rather than the critical friend, as Steve Luce mentioned. And I think if scrutiny and ministers can work together more effectively with a view to taking things forward, we would be in a better place, because reviews will just cost money and take time and hold us back. Thank you.
Thank you. Time to win. Just one aspect I'll pick out of the report, and that was the importance of maintaining and sustaining the Jersey brand as a place for successful financial services. So I'd emphasise that, but also emphasise that the Jersey brand is not just about sustaining financial services, it's about our community of charitable giving, it's about our environment, it's about the many other things that make the Jersey brand something which is attractive to the finance industry. So in terms of the review of ministerial government, I attended the first meeting you organised here, John, in this building, and you know the strength of my feeling about this change. We should review it. It does appear to offer some benefits, but it's not without its costs, as some of the people here have talked about. We need to look at a balanced way of taking that forward that's quick and effective. So yes, I would support that entirely.
Thank you. Okay, more questions, please. You must have had your mind stirred up by all those answers. Just in the front here, on the right-hand side.
Thank you. Politicians often enjoy using many words where one will suffice. What one word best describes your leadership skills?
Thank you. And there's a second question over here. Sorry, at the back, Emilita, the lady there.
Alison LeBrock Davis, and I'm from Learville. As we are losing many of our children to careers in the UK and further afield, how do you think we as an island should encourage our local talent to return to their birthplace after university, given the cost of living and housing?
Thank you. Okay, so two questions. What one word would describe your leadership skills, and how do we attract our young people back after they've gone away to the UK to university? Let's bearing in mind the cost of living. And that is going first to Mary Lahegere. Can we possibly have a microphone down this end, please? Thank you. I'm just doing it this way so that everybody gets a kind of first dab at answering the questions.
The first one's easy for me because you'll see it all over my little piece of leaflet that hopefully you'll have got through your door, which is decisive. And in relation to returning of young people to the island, I've already talked about this tonight. I would like us as an island to ensure that when young people leave and go to university, we know where they're going, we know what they're doing, and actually we want to know what their aspirations are and what they would like to see when they come back. That way, we know that if somebody's going away to be a doctor or a nurse or to study chemistry or biology, we know what their aspirations are, so we know that what they might want when they come back. I also think that we need to look at, from the point of view of housing, in the last couple of days, I've spoken to some that are on shared equity. They think it's a brilliant idea because it means they've been able to afford a home where the parish, as it happens, owns a quarter of it, so it's made it affordable to them, and that will continue with where they're living. But I do actually think we need to know exactly what the young people are doing when they go to university. I would like to see more internships in relation to what the states offer young people, and to make sure that when they offer and do those internships, that they actually are what they are studying at university.
In a word, sacrifice. As for young people, I really believe that some young people shouldn't come back. I know of 3 personally that are in other parts of the world, and potentially they're going to be changing it for the better. So hooray to them, let them go. As for the rest, there's several things we need to do. One is career progression. They need to be able to come back here, continue developing and growing, and that might mean setting up secondment opportunities. We need to make sure that they can have homes, that they can bring a family up in, which means probably looking at how we move the older generation on into other homes. So that's going to mean building communities within communities so people can stay with their friends. And the other thing, obviously, would be childcare. And we need to make sure that we can have affordable childcare so that people can bring up their families, and it needs to be of a high quality. And that also, I'm afraid, includes attracting more males into the profession so we can have a balanced gender profile within the industry. Thank you.
The first question took me as a bit of a shock. I wrote down one word, understanding, and then I crossed it off and thought, my motto's always been working together. I can only pick one of those two words, so I've gone for together as the one word. As for university returnees, it's really important for our young people to get off the island for a few years, to see the world and see what happens elsewhere. I'm certainly pleased I worked in farming in the UK. But what I think we should do to encourage them to come back is say, if you want to go and do a useful degree, health, education, engineering, something like that, where you can come back to the island and use it, if you guarantee you'll come back, we'll give you a full grant. Encourage people to go away and do what they want with a promise that they will come back and work for the island after we've helped them. We can help businesses to employ them by giving them some sort of financial break so that these youngsters, young adults come back to the island and have got a job to go into. Yes, the cost of housing, I've already said, shared equity, we need to do much better with that to help young families into owning their own homes.
Leadership skills, in a word, collaborative. It's particularly important in our political system. It's absolutely essential. So I would say collaborative, and I hope that answers that question. The very important point about our young people coming back, one of our young people is sitting at the back of the room, my son. He's come back for 5 days to help me with my campaign, which is very good because he hasn't got any lectures this week, so I'm delighted about that. But how we can encourage him and his younger brother later on, and all the young people that you're associated with, to come back to this island is going to be multifaceted. We need to invest in making sure that the cost of living is reasonable, that housing is reasonable. I'll give some examples. Planning system needs to be much simpler and automated and sped up so that we can produce more housing. More supply of affordable housing is absolutely crucial. On-island courses, I would say, need to be looked at very clearly to expand. There are opportunities if we can bring in international students, not huge numbers, but bring some in, their families and friends visit. Investment goes into building of activities, building of restaurants or sustaining of restaurants and bars that are suffering at the moment. We build an ecosystem. I've seen what Durham's like. It's fantastic. People go there and the students have fabulous time. We need to provide more for our young people to do in the island after they come back from university, and we can do that with investment.
I hope it's not too arrogant to say capable. I've been a States member for the last 12 years. I think I've proven myself in that time, and I've grown a lot as a leader. I've, in that whole time, been chairing a group of States members, which you might think is like trying to herd cats, and believe me, it can be sometimes. But during that time, I've had a list of achievements to my name. I've brought forward complex legislation that's been passed, but most importantly, I've been able to work with others to find comfortable compromises without selling out. And I think when people have differences of political opinions, being able to do that is the key way that you move forward and actually get things done. To encourage young people back to the island, so investing in young people is the first headline of my manifesto, and I think it encapsulates two things. One is making Jersey generally an attractive and interesting place to be. That means sorting out Fort Regent. It means having a new entertainments law so that there is more fun stuff going on for young adults. But I think we could probably go further and have what I kind of envisage as being a bit like a young person's contract with government, where we basically say to those people who are going away to study that if you're coming back to the island, we will help you do some key things that you'll want to achieve in your life. And I think getting into home ownership as young as possible after your studies is key to that, because of the freedom that gives you an ability to invest in yourself.
Thank you. My one word, I think, would be inclusive. I've always worked together with people, and one of my strap lines is about unity, working together to achieve positive change. The young people question, really close to my heart. I'm the parent of 4 boys. They've gone away. Some have come back. Some haven't. And I think, apart from the things that have already been said around affordable housing, shared equity, I think we could consider tax incentives for some of our graduates as well when they come back, maybe tax breaks for a year or 2 when they first come back to work here. But we need to create an environment that they want to come back to, and that isn't just about housing and shared equity. It's also about the arts and culture offers that we've got, the sports offers that we've got. The other thing I think probably that public service could do to help our young people coming back is actually to prioritise local candidates, so that you are required to offer Jersey candidates civil service roles, and you only recruit externally if those people can't be adequately developed within 12 months. In terms of career progression, we also need to get proper funding for postgraduate study. There's a very big gap there at the moment, which is a barrier to people developing their careers in Jersey.
Thank you. Describing your leadership style in one word is always a challenge, particularly when someone who worked with you is in the corner and may disagree with the word you use. I would say the word thoughtful, because I do try to listen to views, look at information, and come up with a balanced and effective solution to whatever the issue is in hand. I find it difficult to add anything to what's already been said, but I think I would just like to reflect that Jersey as an island will always have had people coming and going. I probably don't need to point out to you that I'm an immigrant. I came to Jersey in 1996, which means that I left home and never went back. I've got lots of friends who came to Jersey and never went back to their homes. And I think while we can also do lots of things to make sure, as everybody said, to bring our young people back after graduating, the world is a much more global place. People do move. And we have to remember that with a falling birth rate in most of the Western world, we will be reliant on people coming into Jersey. And it's not just about making Jersey attractive for our own young people, but it's attractive for other young people who have other skills, who can come here and do effective and valuable jobs for the island. Jersey's a beautiful, safe place, and I meet people all the time who say they love living here because they've been elsewhere. Thank you.
So the one word that describes my leadership style is sensible. In terms of what we can do to encourage people to come back, we need to create a landing ground for people young people to return that's not home. After living independently in shared houses, shared flats, they don't want to go and live with mum and dad again. They need to be moving forward. We don't have those kind of housing products on the island, but Andiam is prepared to consider those. The second thing, we actually need to think about innovative economics here. Every single person that comes back provides a 40 to 50-year revenue stream. Now, we can think about how we use that creatively, that revenue stream, into the future, to think about how we might then provide the resources to encourage people to come back. And then the third thing is we need to think about the jobs that they want to come back to. And it's not just about AI and finance. We're about to launch an amazing 5G platform across this island, which will create an immense amount of jobs, not just in digital, but across the whole economy. So there are things happening here. There are jobs that don't exist at the moment that will attract people back. So I think we can be positive about that. But the first, I think, is create the landing ground for them to come back.
So to answer your first question, I think the best 2 words to describe my leadership style is purposeful delivery. My background in elite sport, for over 16 years, I've been setting strategy to go out and deliver and make sure that delivery is followed through to achieve goals. And I hope to bring that, if elected, with my peers. It's a great question about young people. I was at the candidate fair with everybody else a few weeks ago, and I had streams and streams of young people basically writing the island off, which is troubling, that have already written us off right before going. So I think we need to do more to give them better experiences whilst they're still here as well, so they're not writing us off, whether it's through school opportunities, more sporting opportunities, getting them to understand this is our strategy. I agree with Bernard, we have to have a strategy so we actually know what packages we're pulling together to entice them back. So a review, we need to have a review and ensure that we are actually saying, look, is it healthcare? We've got an aging population issue, and at the minute, I believe it's around 80%. We are, bringing 80% of people externally into the island. There's a healthcare crisis over here potentially in the next 20, 30 years, and there are a lot of young people who want to go into healthcare. So what are we doing about that? I love the idea of tax incentives and benefits. The Netherlands actually offers schemes where you don't pay a deposit. That would be an amazing thing to take the burden off young people when buying first-time homes.
Thank you for the first question. It's a very good one. I would use a word that Alan used, which is collaborative. But I've learnt over the years that actually leaders and managers sometimes perceive their leadership style very differently from those that they work with. So if you want to ask people that either I'm currently working with or I have worked with, I can point you in their direction after we finish this, and they'll give you a more honest answer probably. For young people, all of the things that have currently been said, I agree with. One of the things that we're doing in external relations is creating we started off in London with a diaspora scheme, and what we're trying to do is coordinate people who've got any interest or connection with Jersey so that we can ultimately provide them with information about the opportunities that are available here. Because actually, we are not always aware of the current opportunities that are available. For example, there are firms down in town who are offering young people full-time work and doing degrees at the same time. So there are really good opportunities here already. We do want people to go away, but we've got to attract them back, and housing is probably the biggest issue, so extending the First Step scheme. The other thing, of course, is that with an ageing demographic, if we're not careful, the whole of the island becomes less attractive to young people, and we've got to guard against that. Thank you.
Thank you. The second question first. It's, and I know my son lives in the UK and his wife and the family, they'll be coming back one day. I think it is the top matter for young people, housing, affordable housing. The First Step scheme put 153 people into new homes. This year we invested 10 million in that, and in return those people got owned homes, and we retained equity in those homes. We need to significantly expand those schemes and schemes like that, because that is the number one thing that will bring people back here. On top of that, we need to make sure we have skills, opportunities, career opportunities, good jobs, well-paid jobs. We need to provide more facilities. Where naturally we've got the best beaches, I think, in the world, if I can go as far as to say that. And I've been to the Caribbean and got there and thought, what a waste of money. I should have been on St. Juan's Bay. So we need to make sure facilities, youth facilities, investment in Fort Regent, support with childcare and so forth. In relation to a word, Serena craftily used two words. I'm going to, but that's okay. Ian and Alan, who I've both worked with in the past, significantly use collaborative, and they are collaborative most of the time, I would say. But there has been far too much division. We are all stronger when we work together. I'm with Helen, inclusive. Thank you.
Moment of interest. My first name, Guy, comes from the original Latin Gaius, which strangely means leader. So I'm going to stick my neck out here, and my one word, I'm not cheating with two like some candidates, I'm going for charismatic. Thank you very much. Now, bringing young people back to Jersey, well, I don't know, is that a punishment or a sentence? All my four sisters went to the UK, only one came back. So there's clearly plenty to offer over there. Primarily, I think, husbands. I did actually propose unofficially to a few states members a scheme for repaying graduates, successful graduates who came back to Jersey so that they've had to pay for their education, which, by the way, is down to a previous Labour government. They could get tax incentives to basically get their money back. I think you run into difficulty trying to bias things towards locally born people. That may be seen as discrimination against everyone else. But I'm up for incentives. The difficulty is finding out what works.
Thank you. Time's up.
In a word, I'm going for empowerment. Over the last 5 years, I've run a community interest project, Step 55, and I've learnt from that project that Jersey is rich in skills, experience, and passion. And what we do in that project is we empower people to share those skills and passion, specifically in activities. So coming on to the younger generation returning, I share that structure again. I would share that structure, social enterprise, social purpose. Young people today are concerned about their environment. They're really concerned about the future generations, as we all are, but young people especially. And they like to be connected with good things. And sustainability is an area that we're promoting big time here on the island. And what we need structure for young people to come back and have a go at doing these good purposes in a business way. Give them the structure. It can be involved in financial technology, but other areas as well.
I largely agree with Alan McLean, and I can say my word would be collaborative, and that's based on experience. On the second question, I think we need to have more higher education on island. 20% of students in the UK live at home, and they live at home for economic reasons, for health reasons, or for personal reasons. That option isn't available to most Jersey students because there's a very limited range of courses. We actually have quite a bit. We have University College Jersey offering postgraduate courses. We have an excellent health education department offering really high quality medical qualifications. We have the Jersey International Centre of Advanced Studies and the Institute of Law. But we need to build on those institutions so Jersey students have the choice of remaining in the island. In terms of coming back, it's about a thriving economy, because without jobs, they can't afford anything. So a thriving economy with good job opportunities, and of course, tackle the problem of the cost of housing. Thank you.
The one word on leadership, I think to be successful, you need cooperation. That's of others in any organisation, really. Cooperation. Attract young people back. Well, some of them want to travel. They want to take a year out. They want to do different things. They would gain experience that possibly they couldn't get here. And it could be an advantage to Jersey if they bring that back. But then what are the employment opportunities? And others have mentioned they need to be there. And then look what the barriers might be, and we know housing is one, the main one really, and then what are the benefits and could there be any incentives? So there's a whole gamut of things there, and there is no easy answer. Thank you.
I'm afraid I'm going to abstain from answering the first question, unless I've missed something. Leadership requires a lot of qualities, and in my view, they're all equally important. And without all of them working together, you can't have good leadership. So I think it's a little bit of a gimmick to ask that question, because it does require a lot of different things. With regard to how we bring young children back to the island, I think I've alluded to it in the answer to the last question. I've been in business a long time. I don't think I've ever worked in a situation where I haven't had a clear vision about what we want to do. And over the last 4 years, it's become very apparent to me that Jersey hasn't got that vision. And I've alluded to it before, and I think we need to put finance at the centre of that and build a whole lot around that. Invest some of the money that we've got put away. We haven't invested sufficiently in the past, and as I say, we've fallen behind. So that needs to be pieced together, and the next 4 years should be dedicated to doing that. I'm just going to add that I've been in health for 2 years, and health has got a vision, and it's very clear from some of the things that have been said this evening that I haven't done a very good job of articulating it. In overall terms, we're building a new hospital. It should be completed in 4 years' time, and my vision is to see that we've got a health service that is the equivalent in quality to the quality of the building that we're putting together. Otherwise, it's an absolute pointless waste of time building it. And I think in the next speech I do, I'm going to define what we're actually doing so people start to get a very much clearer picture of what's happening. Thank you.
The one word I would describe myself is something I've learned in the last 5 years through joining the therapeutic course, and that is empathy. I think I would like to be a leader that empathizes with the community in the situation they're going through. And I would want to empathize with the colleagues that you would want me to work with in the States Assembly. So that's one way I would love you to evaluate me after 4 years of serving you. And then I would like to say that for us to attract our young people back to the island, it starts from how the island is. So if we don't create that environment, the world is their oyster. They'll go wherever they can. I'm here. My country is missing me. But I'm not missing my country. So sometimes we also need to accept the reality that these young people we are delivering, they are not only for Jersey. It's a reality. We are producing children to serve the world. I am a global citizen. I'm not just a Ugandan now. I'm a Jersey Ugandan. So let us build a young community that will attract them, but they'll go wherever they wish to go. Thank you.
Okay, do we have any more questions from the audience? Lady there in the red top. We can go a few minutes over at the back as well. And we'll be starting with Bernard this time round, so we take another trek through the candidates.
Right, I'm Maxine from St. Ones, and I would like to know, you all sound really good tonight, but if you get elected, how approachable and answerable are you going to be to the electorate? Because so many of you disappear in the big house, and we never see you again.
Thank you. And the next question is the lady there with the pink headscarf at the back.
Taylor Davis, Leaville. How do you plan to tackle the issue of low voter turnout in young people in Jersey?
Okay, two clear questions. So, how approachable will you be and answerable if you were to get in? And how will you tackle low voter turnout amongst young people? First, starting with Bernard Place, please.
So the first one, my management style is always about contact. So I was taught, for example, that you walk your patch every day. Now, you can't do that in practical terms every day if elected, but you can make a commitment to actually to go where the voters are, and there are loads of opportunities to do that. In terms of getting young people to vote, we need to give young people something to vote for. And I think part of that became apparent at the fair, the candidates' fair. First of all, younger people are not an homogenous mass. They all have different needs, and I think it's important to identify what they are. But voting is a culture, and it's something that you learn or can learn from an early age. And we're lucky that voting could happen at 16 on the island. We need to think about what we do to build on that. And there are practical things we can do, from mandatory participation, like they have in Australia, to working through youth groups and a whole range of other places where younger people are.
I have tried to be accessible in the last 4 years with my other deputies in the district. We have monthly surgeries. This year we've been trying, because they're in the evening, they're not always well attended. I've had 4 in Acorn on a Saturday morning each month of this year. So yes, I do try to be accessible. I try to answer every email. If someone writes to me as an individual, I will always answer it. It may take a little while, but I do always try to answer emails, and to do so carefully. I think it's important that we all do that. As States members, that we are available to the public, and occasionally I meet them by appointment on other occasions. Young people, very similar thing. I think we start quite early with year 5 coming into the assembly. They do the debate, they get very enthused. We have school councils starting from very young ages, which I think goes right through the school year. So why people then do not come out and make that final step of voting, I think it is about education. It's about getting more information to young people, and really asking young people to think about. One of the things we hear a huge amount in the Assembly is the concept of children's rights. I think that needs to be balanced by explaining to young people that they also have duties as a citizen, and that one of those duties is coming out to vote. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. I can only really talk about the visibility question based on my experience as Deputy of St Brelard. I hold surgeries and pop-ins twice a month, have done for the last 4 years, but I'm also probably irritatingly visible to my parishioners as well, and I seem to do a lot of chatting, be in Waitrose, be it in co-op, be it walking the dog. I also do Battle of Flowers, I do a lot of charity work, so a lot of people know me and don't tend to come to the fixed surgeries, but will actually have a conversation with me at any other time, and I really don't see that changing if I'm elected as senator. In terms of the turnout and the youth, I think Vote.je, the States Gref, have done an awful lot of work over the last few years trying to engage young people. One of the things I particularly like doing is going to see the year 5s in the States Assembly, because they come to the Assembly, they act as the States Assembly. Quite often the debates are far more sensible and polite than the ones we actually have, and us as deputies get the opportunity to sit in the bailiff's chair, engage with the young people, their parents come along, and I think you make it an enjoyable experience, and they debate something that's relevant to them, i.e. shall we give up homework or shall we have extra maths lessons, and I think we're investing in the future with those year 5s. Thank you.
Thank you. The last time I served as a senator, I found myself at a little bit of a loose end halfway through the term, and I decided that I was going to start doing constituency surgeries every week without fail at a cafe in town. I would go sometimes and nobody would be there to see me. I would go sometimes and there'd be a queue of people. And I have to say, it is what I found to be the most fulfilling part of the job, meeting people and helping them with their cases. I knocked on a woman's door in Spencer Close the other day and recognised her as someone who'd come to my surgery. She'd just bought her flat there, and when I'd met her, she had come to ask for advice about an issue with her rental home at the time. So you really see that making a difference, and I absolutely pledge to carry on doing that if I'm elected senator, and be available to members of the public for casework, whatever role I end up holding if I'm lucky enough to be elected. And I can say, and I swear this is 100% true, I've even picked up casework in the middle of a mosh pit at a gig upstairs at St James Wine Bar. So that's how approachable I like to think I can be. In terms of improving voter turnout for young people, I don't think there's a silver bullet to this. It would help if our voting system was simpler. It would help if our voting system was more democratic. But without that, I'll try my best to be as accessible to young voters as possible. Earlier today, I noticed that on my TikTok channel, I had 3,499 followers. I'm hoping that maybe we've hit 3,500 during the course of this evening.
I think it's absolutely key that a politician is approachable and answerable. I would say that, of course, wouldn't I? I found when I was a minister before that it was important to engage with the public as often as possible to find out what was going on at the coalface, because it does become a bit of a bubble when you're involved in the States, and sometimes politicians don't listen, and it's crucially important that we do. To give you an idea about engaging and listening, though, I'm going to use my teenage son at the back again as another example. He was telling me that his friends thought I was approachable and listened. I think if teenagers think that, that's a step in the right direction. As far as voter turnout is concerned with the young, we had the political fair, it's been mentioned. There's another political hustings specifically for the young, which is important. When I was a minister, I went into the schools on more than 2 occasions and spoke to students about the experience of being a politician and did a question and answer session. I have to say, the questions I got from students were more incisive, more challenging than often I found in the States Assembly at Questions Without Notice. We've got to do far more of that type of engagement with young people to make them feel there's value in them getting involved in the process. It can be done, we can do it, and we really must. Thank you.
Yes, I'd agree with Alan on the youth parliament's been a great success, and young people asking you questions is far more daunting than other states members, I can assure you. One of the things we must improve on is education. If we want to get children into politics, I think we need to do a better job of encouraging them to learn about it and learn how their vote can make a difference. And then they'll go on and try and find out about us and see about coming out and voting. As for being approachable and answerable, I'd just like to carry on doing the best I can. I'd like to think I've answered everybody that's contacted me in the last 14 or 15 years. That's probably not true, and I'm very sorry if there's odd people who haven't. But I've always tried very hard to do my job without fear or favour, and I've made that a point. And occasionally I find myself representing people I don't necessarily agree with, but if they contact me with a problem, it's my job to try to solve that problem for them. So I'd like to just carry on doing as I have, and hopefully people will find that I represent them regardless of where they're coming from or what they want me to do.
As for accessibility, I'm currently in a role where I work with a lot of charities and other organisations and young people, and I intend to keep those relationships open, which I hope will inform me of the issues that are facing people on the island. As for young voter turnout, thank you for the question. It's well done standing up and saying that. I really believe, well, apart from I had a 20-minute conversation on the other day with a 2-year-old who promised to come back and vote when she's 16. But I really think it's down to us as a society to engage with young people, and it's everyone's responsibility to share that. If we all encourage young people to be involved in the democratic process, I think we'll improve the voter turnout. Yes, we can make things simpler. Yes, we can change systems. Yes, we can change hustings, because this wouldn't be easy for a young person to do. Yep, we can go out and do fairs at Oakfield and Highlands and other places. But I really believe it's everyone's responsibility to share the democratic voice. Thank you.
In relation to the first question, my address, email and landline is on on the government website. It's also on all my leaflets. I'm part of so people do ring me at 6:45 in the morning about the traffic outside their house. I'm part of Battle of Flowers. I attend all the parish events, even though I only represent, obviously, St Helier North. I attend all the parish assemblies. Sometimes I've actually only been the person there. There's only the officials and me when one of my other colleagues wasn't there. So quite often that's the case. So I think it's important that as states members, it doesn't matter where you're representing, that you're visible to the public. So if I go into town, I walk through the fish market, I walk through the market in town, I chat to people, I talk to people, I like to talk, everybody knows that. In relation to the voter turnout of young people, I'm not dissimilar to what my colleague to the left has said. I actually think it's our responsibility. When I was brought up, my parents voted. When you got to 18, they encouraged you to vote, and likewise, I've done the same with my daughter. I think the states and the GREF are doing a lot of work but I actually think it is us that need to encourage our children, and then your children need to encourage their children, because as much as we can do to encourage voting, that is really the essential part of it.
Great question. In terms of the approachability, I think at the minute there's a perception that I don't think that we are approachable enough as a States Assembly. I certainly, someone who shared your views a few weeks ago till I decided to get on the other side of the fence. So I think that we need to do more to change public perception, and a lot of it, yes, we can go out there individually and you know, share email addresses and share numbers, but essentially there's a systemic issue as to why you feel like you can't see us and see us more often and see us with more purpose. And I think we probably need to look at that. And if elected, I'd love to be able to look at that, because I think we've got to bring the public closer to us to earn trust again. In terms of voter turnout, there's actually a 13-year-old girl who came along to the last Hustings, and I mean, what a young lady. It was one of the highlights of my campaign so far, and that's an indicator that maybe the tide's starting to turn. Additional to that, we've obviously got Gabriel running this year, our youngest candidate, I think, for this year's election. So things are starting to happen, but representation is so, so important. It's one of the reasons why I wanted to run. I think we need to represent the island, and I would encourage anybody young who's frustrated with their island, wanting to stay here, in the next election to come out and share your voice and share your opinions, and you will engage a new set of people. You will engage young people, and that's inspiring. And we need to inspire people in order to continue building that representation.
Perhaps I could just say I'm more approachable than I look when I'm stood here. When I'm stood here this evening dressed in a suit, I'd rather be in my wellies, but I was told it wasn't really appropriate. It's the fact that we are all humans trying to serve the island, and sometimes we are busy, but I will do my best. One of the biggest regrets I have in this job that I've been doing, and I love doing, is that I can't always solve everybody's problems, because that's the heart that I come with. Low voter turnout, Taylor, as you know, my eldest daughter is also in that cohort that's going to be voting for the first time on the 7th of June, and I'm excited for that cohort. It's involvement in the community, involvement in decision making, and I always think actually at the end of the day, sometimes we as politicians make too many promises that can't be kept. We're not really straight in the way that we should be with the electors, and therefore I think that on top of everything that everybody else has said, we must be authentic and be honest about what is doable and what isn't. And I am hopeful for the future. I see those young people at the candidate fair, and I'm hopeful about where Jersey's going and where we can get to. Thank you.
Thank you. Low voter turnout is one of the biggest challenges we have. I'm not sure what the solution is for the whole island, but I know we've made some progress in promoting the work of the states to young people through the education outreach program, through the youth assembly, but I think the most effective way to get more young people to vote is to involve them, to listen to them, and to actually start doing some of the things that they're asking for so they can realize the power and the impact of their voice. In relation to being approachable, in the 20-something years I've been a states member, I've tried to be as approachable as possible. I've probably spent more money on buying people coffees over the last 25 years than just about anything, any other state's expense, which I've paid for myself, by the way, before there's any questions. I'm former chair of the Battle of Flowers Association. I'm a former president of the Jersey Hospitality Association. I've recently taken over as chair of Age Concern Jersey. All of those jobs have involved engaging closely with islanders. As some of you will know, I spend a lot of time talking on my dog walks in the morning and the evenings with islanders who I bump into, and we have some very constructive conversations. And finally, as a proof of how inclusive and approachable I am, Dave and I are popping into the Farmers for a quick half on the way home after this, and anyone wants to come along, you'd be very welcome. Thank you.
Approachability. Well, I have to say, after excellent training as a reporter for Channel Television over 6 years, the tendency is that I do the approaching. And over time, people have become accustomed to this. So as they see me coming, they go, Guy, we don't want to talk about politics. So this is going to happen. I have got a lot of time for young people. When I was minister, I used to go out to school trips and stuff. I don't think they got all my jokes. But great. But I'm sorry, I'm going to have to tell you something that will come as a bit of a shock. Politicians keep looking for extra people to vote to secure their next election. I take a completely reverse point of view. We have 70,000 voters. Frankly, if only 5,000 voted, who knew what they were voting about, had read the manifestos, I prefer a smaller turnout rather than just drag all the numbers in. Apparently in Australia it's compulsory. Better not do that here.
So, how approachable will I be? Well, I'm a very approachable person. I've been working with the community, as I've mentioned. Engaging and answerable. I think all politicians want their legacy to be a difference that they've made. And that is certainly the case with myself. I'm a big advocate, I've mentioned it already, of social interests, social entrepreneurship. And I think that that would work well with the younger generation and maybe voter apathy that they would particularly have. So I think if we could sort of invest in social purpose for them, have a structure where they go and have a go at something. The government can have a structure where they give them a certain amount of money for community engagement. They're working with the community. They start working with government. Between the two, they would get more interest in government and making a change with government for their future. So it would be an empowerment for them and on-the-ground experience.
Politics is a people activity. If you don't like talking with people, you shouldn't be in politics. I've always been very approachable. I want to pinch other people's ideas, talk with them. All my emails have my telephone number on, something that government officials might usefully do. My website, my personal website's been there. I just love people contacting me, and I will reply. On the point about voter turnout, that's my favourite subject. I'm an enthusiast on it. I've written a paper. Let's talk afterwards. Jersey has the lowest turnout in the world, and among young people, we're even lower than the lowest. No, sorry. If we could be lower than the lowest, we would be. It's appalling. And I think it's not just about marketing the product. And yeah, the Gref does a great job. We need to look at the product. We need to understand why young people are not voting. And to echo what Sam said, it's very complicated. Coming to it for the first time, 3 different types of candidates, 15 people you can vote for. That's really tough. So let's understand more why young people don't vote and not just concentrate on marketing to them. So let's have another chat afterwards. Thank you.
In this campaign, I'm spending a lot of time with people. I've met hundreds of people the last couple of weeks. And the history is my daughter, who's now turned 40, when she was younger, she used to say, I hate going to town with you, Dad. You know everybody, and you stop and talk to them. And she's like pulling my hand, come on, come on. So I do people politics, and I do believe I'm approachable, and I've got a pen, a paper, and my glasses virtually all the time. Regarding engagement, we do have low voter turnout. in 2022 and this election, the stagecraft have spent a lot of time and effort, and probably money as well, trying to encourage everybody to vote. And they're also working with primary schools as a long-term thing. And the 9 and 10-year-olds do a state visit. And I know my grandson went, and I said, did you have a proposition? He said, oh yeah, it was all laid out properly. And the subject for debate was, should homework be allowed? Right? I don't know if anybody's got any views on that, but I thought, well, that's a pretty strong for these 9 and 10-year-old kids to debate. And the stagecraft do a terrific job making them welcome and going through the official procedure, and that is the long-term thing. But I'm afraid Sunday voting will have to see how it works. Thank you.
I think the first question was about being answerable to the electorate. As I explained, I've been in health for 2 years. That's generated thousands of emails to me, a lot of them very spiky. I think I'm right in saying that I stand to be corrected. I think I've answered every one of the public emails personally. I've had literally hundreds of requests for meetings, and I don't think I've turned down a single one. The more I've done it, the more people have spoken about it, and the more people have come forward and done it again. And if you allow me a small expletive, I'll describe it as bloody life-ruining. And I don't advise anybody else to do it. With regard to young voter engagement, I think the answer lies very much in the education system. When I was a kid, when I was 11, I went to senior school. The first year of every year in that school was subjected to a whole process of education about the importance of democracy and the democratic process. And I take issue with the idea that kids of 11 can't understand something that I think is very basic. We all understood it. We were then went through a mock election. We had candidates, we had policies, we had hustings, and we had the whole election process. And we had speeches afterwards. And I think that the generations that went through that, and I see one or two of them in the audience, I think all of us have voted ever since. It became second nature to us. So I think if you want young people to engage, teach them about the importance of democracy and the process at an early age. Thank you.
In 2009, I was in Uganda Christian University. I offered myself to stand as a student leader, and I overwhelmingly got elected as a guild president, and I served for 1 year and left with my degree. In addition to that, I am now called Guild President Emeritus. So that's a title I live with when I go to Uganda. It's a very big chip on my shoulders. Hate crime. In 2007, I was approached. Would you like to put your face onto this campaign? I did not know much about it, but the experience I had here, I offered myself. I had my face on the van for over 5 years, the police van. That brought me many people asking, is that your face? I said, yeah, that's me. So, oh, thanks for highlighting that. The issues about hate crime. Of course, it did not also end the issues of hate crime. Talking about me coming in, I hope I can bring the issue of hate crime to become a law. And with the colleagues who have been already working on this, I think it is high time that becomes a serious matter. And then online voting is something that I would say would have improved voting for young people. I don't know why this government did not consider that. Otherwise,
thank you.
Thank you very much.
Time. Thank you very much. We have just gone a few minutes over, but I hope you've all found it valuable in making your decisions. Thank you for all your questions. Thanks, Emelita, for running around with a microphone, and our broadcast partners, 3CI, of course. And thank you to all the candidates for their questions and their speeches. If you would like to get in touch with your candidates after this, which they're all very keen to, obviously, then you will find their contact details on the vote.je website. In addition, the manifesto booklets are starting to be delivered to your homes this week, so you'll be seeing those. If you applied for a postal vote, remember your ballot papers need to be received by the judicial gref by 12 noon on Sunday the 7th of June, and I say judicial gref, not the state's gref. Don't forget you can vote early at the pre-poll station at St Paul's Centre in St Helier between the 26th of May and the 1st of June. Election day is, of course, Sunday the 7th. Polling stations are open from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Make sure you know your designated polling station and take photo ID with you, please. And you can get all the further information, see all the candidate manifestos on vote.je. Thank you.
On behalf of all the candidates, Gwen, can I thank you for chairing this evening, and Emilita for doing the microphone, but most importantly, can we thank all of you for attending. Without you, there wouldn't have been a Hustings, so thank you very much indeed.